baby.
Can you bring it to me?
Why don't you want to play with your nice princess doll?
Well, who's going to save her from the monster?
Can't the princess save herself?
Mommy, that's silly. The princess can't save herself.
Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a gorgeous princess. She was smart, charming, and everybody in the kingdom loved her. One day, a dragon came and kidnapped the poor princess and locked her away in a tower. And there she waited for her prince to come and save her.
Okay. We're not doing that version, remember?
We aren't?
No, we're doing the strong, independent female version, remember? Hey, the one where the girl gets to be the hero?
She does?
Yeah, let's just show them.
Okay, right. Not So Grim Fairy Tales by Kevin Bean.
And why can't the princess be the hero?
Because she's a princess.
I don't see what that has to do with anything.
Mommy, that's not how the story goes. The princess gets in trouble and she needs to have her prince come and save her.
Would you like to be a princess?
Oh, could I, Mommy?
And let's just say you got in trouble. Couldn't you outsmart the big monster yourself and get away?
Nope, I'd have my prince come and save me. Those are the rules.
I clearly have not been spending enough time with you.
What?
I don't know about some of these rules of yours. There are often more than one side to a story.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes the girl gets to be the hero.
She does?
Sure, would you like to hear a story?
Yes.
All right. This is a story of Snow White.
Oh, so much to do. So much to do. I'm never going to get my child ready for the Little Miss Minor pageant in time. Snow White! Snow White, get in here!
Yes, Morgana.
What have I told you about that? I'm your mother. Call me Mommy Dearest.
And how many times have I told you, you are not my real mother. You are my stepmother. My real mother would never make me compete in these stupid beauty pageants.
They are not stupid. They're wonderful.
They are not wonderful. They're everything that's wrong with the world today. They reward girls for being beautiful and nothing more.
And what's wrong with that? What more would any girl want?
How about a brain? There's so many things wrong with the world today. Why should I worry about being pretty?
Why? Because there's nothing else to worry about. All the other princesses are competing in the pageant, and I will not be the only queen in the country club whose daughter is not in the pageant. Why don't you want to be Mommy's pretty, pretty princess?
Because it's all nonsense, Morgana. Because it's all nonsense. Mommy, dearest. The workers in this kingdom have no rights. While we live in this huge mansion, they live in shacks because the coal company, your company, won't pay them fair wages. Somebody needs to fight for their rights, but no one does. All people care about are these stupid beauty pageants. Nobody cares about the little man.
That's because the little man is ugly. You know I could never afford to pay them for the work they do. Why? They'd end up owning all the mines and we'd be out on the streets. Now hush up! Nobody likes a girl with an opinion. Mirror, mirror!
Hello, darling. How's treats? Mwah, mwah.
Oh, thank you for coming so quickly, Mirror. I just don't know what to do. The Little Miss Minor pageant is coming up soon, and I will never be able to turn Snow White into pageant queen material.
Relax, darling. You have no idea how many eggs I turn into queens each year.
Then you'll help us?
Of course. It's the event of the season, darling. Everyone will be there. The coal miners, the supervisors, the frame builders, the wire hangers.
No wire hangers ever!
Relax, darling. Remember your breathing. Oh. Now, let's see what we have to work with. Ooh, well, hon, aren't we asking a lot this year? What do you say, kid? Are you ready to be a champion?
A champion of the people. I'm sick of this pageant garbage. I'm going to organize the workers and put an end to this nonsense.
Boy, babe, we're going to have to do something about that mouth of hers. A little Botox has never hurt anyone.
What are you? Oh, no, you don't. Stay away from me.
Oh, sweet mother, a mystery!
What are you doing? Get up and go after her!
I'm sorry if you have not noticed, but my leg is swollen up more than Miley Cyrus's ego. I'm afraid you're going to have to do it.
Me?
Don't worry. I have a foolproof plan. They don't call me Magic Mirror for nothing. Here's what we'll do. Break.
I finally lost her. But I seem to lost myself as well. Where am I?
Man, what a day. 16 hours, no breaks.
And for what? We don't even have enough to rent our own homes.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of living in a shack with like 6 other guys.
What are we going to do about it? It's all we can afford. That old witch on the hill will never give us a raise.
I know. Hey, let's go home and eat before the others get back.
The little man!
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it over here. But I think I can help. Please, sirs, what may I call you?
Grumpy!
I feel your pain. Listen, all we have to do is get all the miners together and get them to agree not to work anymore until they get paid fairly for the job they do.
That just might work.
Without us, there will be no one to own the mines. The company will grind to a halt, and they'll have to give us our demands.
Yeah, let's go get the others and tell them the news.
Finally, the time of the little man is at hand.
I've never Botoxed an apple before. I hope this works.
And that's what we'll do. She'll never see us coming.
Yeah, great plan.
Hello, dear. Help an old woman pay the bills.
Of course, anything for the people.
Oh!
Oh, whoops. My bad. I think I used a little too much. Ha-ha! Let's see you organize the workers now!
Oh no! Snow White has been poisoned by her wicked stepmother. Hello, good workers. I'm Mr. Prince, a union worker from Lincoln County. I've been hearing about the good work Snow White has been doing and thought I would see what I could do to help out. Where may I find her?
Mr. Prince, thank goodness you come. Snow White has been poisoned by her evil stepmother. That she also happens to be the head of the coal mining operation.
Oh no! Without the strong willing guidance of Snow White, what will we do?
Oh, that witch.
You're alive, Snow White. Oh, you've been poisoned by your evil stepmother.
I know.
Hello, Snow White. I'm Mr. Prince, a union organizer who has come to help with the cause. How can I help you?
Thank you, Mr. Prince.
No problem, no problem.
I appreciate it.
Oh, I know you do.
But this is personal now. Sit down, shut up, and let me handle my business.
Yes, Snow White.
Come on.
And so, Snow White unionized the old coal miners and forced her wicked stepmother to live with Mira in the workers' old shack for the rest of their days. The end.
That was funny. I liked it.
Well, I'm glad. Mommy has to get back to work now, okay?
Okay, Mommy dearest.
Oh, you.
Mommy,
Yes, dear?
can I have my Prince doll now?
Oh, sure. Here you go.
Thanks, Mommy.
Mm-hmm.
Roar! I'm going to gobble you up! No! Somebody help me!
Dun-ta-da! I'll save you, princess.
Oh, that's okay. I can save myself.
Oh, okay.
Hey, let's do it together! Yeah!
Hey, Campbell.
Yeah, Bailey?
The customer just stormed at the door. She looked pretty worked up. Did you have anything to do with that?
Probably.
What'd you say to her?
Well, that I assumed she was buying paper clips.
That's all?
Well, she said she was just browsing, but this is an office supply store, and I pointed out that people don't generally come here to browse. But she insists she was browsing anyway. So I figured it must be for paper clips, and I assured her this was perfectly okay, that lots of people use paper clips to pick their noses, that we had pens, pencils, letter openers, and other fine assorted products that would serve her equally well in her nose-picking needs.
Way to go.
Thank you.
I had a lady a few minutes ago. Asked me if I worked here. I asked her if she thought I was wearing a real maximum office name badge or if I was just trying to pull a fast one. That got her wondering. She demanded to see a manager, so I told her I am.
Good one.
It's so much fun messing with the customers.
I love this job.
Me too.
I hear a phone. Is it yours or mine?
Yours.
Yep. Looks like a text from my cousin who works at the Haydensville store. Uh-oh.
What?
Well, the district manager is making his rounds. He left Haydensville half an hour ago and was sneaking around the store and eavesdropping on employees, fired 2 cashiers and a sales clerk.
Bummer.
Haydensville's not that far. If he left there half an hour ago and was on his way here, he could be in the store already.
God.
We're gonna have to behave ourselves for the rest of the afternoon. We're gonna have to actually do our jobs. We're gonna have to be nice to the customers.
Think if the customers will scream at the door tomorrow.
I was never good with delayed gratification.
Eyes on the prize, Campbell. Good luck.
You too.
There are no stupid questions.
But there are a lot of inquisitive idiots.
We love the customers.
By Bradley Walton.
May I help you?
I'm looking for paper that's guaranteed not to cause paper cuts.
I've never heard of paper like that.
I can't imagine it doesn't exist. Paper cuts are such a common problem. Surely someone's found a solution.
Gloves.
It's not my hands I'm worried about, it's my left ear.
You get paper cuts on your left ear.
All the time, doesn't everyone?
They do. All the time. Every day.
Oh good, I'm glad it's not just me.
Nope, nothing remotely strange about you or your left ear. My left ear was in bandages just last week. I had a mishap with some sticky notes. Nasty business.
Sticky notes are the work of the devil. I keep telling my preacher should write a sermon about them. For some reason he hasn't though.
I can't imagine why.
You don't carry protective ear covers, do you?
No, we sure don't. I'm afraid the best I can offer you is bread paper that won't show blood as obviously.
But I was looking for something in sort of a brownish color.
No cut paper in brownish.
So it doesn't show earwax so much.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Thanks for trying. It's good to know I'm not the only person this happens to. All my friends think I'm nuts. I can't wait to tell them about you. Bailey.
Good afternoon. How may I help you?
Erasers.
We've got those. There's a whole bin of rubber erasers right here. It's just a $1 each. It's one of our everyday specialties.
What kind of warranty they have?
They don't have warranties.
You mean the store doesn't stand behind its products?
Well, they cost 25 cents.
And you're willing to back what you're selling me, but you just won't take it on a warranty? I can't believe this.
Look, if there's something wrong, I'm sure you could bring it back.
If there's nothing wrong?
If they didn't erase, it wouldn't say erasers on the bin.
That's true. Okay, I'll give them a try.
Great. Thank you for your business.
This one has a chip missing out of it. Will you give me a discount?
A discount?
Look, there's a little chip missing out of the corner. It can't possibly be full price.
Look, we generally offer a 10% discount on slightly imperfect merchandise.
That's better.
That would be 23 cents.
Whoa. What do you mean 23 cents?
We can't charge you half a cent, so the price rounds up.
What kind of fool do you take me for?
That's generally the way things work when you round numbers. If it's half or more, you round up.
I'm not gonna pay you an extra half cent for this defective eraser. I demand to see a manager. I'll have your job for this.
Oh, that's not necessary. I'll tell the cashier to round down. We'll do a price override.
Okay, but I want to see if there's any more scratch and dent erasers that are a little less scratch and dent than this one. I want to get my 22 cents worth.
I'm looking for a new copy machine for our office.
What kind of copier do you need?
Well, it needs to make copies, of course, and it needs to stand up to constant use.
We've got quite a few copiers that stand up to heavy copying.
Something that can collate and staple.
No problem.
How about a copier that won't pick up DNA?
I'm sorry. What?
Like, say, just hypothetically, if you were to photocopy your hand as a surprise birthday present to your boss, you wouldn't leave fingerprints or skin cells on the glass that could be traced back to you and ruin the surprise, because, you know, we wouldn't want that.
Can you just wipe off the glass?
I guess I could. I mean, yeah, I guess you could.
We have glass cleaner.
great antidote completely obliterates DNA?
I'm hunting for light fixtures to make my cubicle like the inside of the Death Star.
Which part of the Death Star did you have in mind?
What do you mean?
Well, the Death Star was pretty big, and cubicles have a somewhat limited amount of space.
Are you implying that I have a small cubicle, that I'm not important, that I'm some kind of drone, like a battle droid?
No, it's just the cubicles, by their nature, are compact, and
You think my cubicle looks like a trash compactor? Are you calling me a slob? Are you making assumptions about me just because I like Star Wars?
Of course not.
I'm not stupid. Don't you lie to me. I know the name of every single Ewok in Return of the Jedi.
We have swivel chairs that look a lot like the ones from the Death Star briefing room.
Ooh, show me. Pardon me, do you carry pencils?
Are you serious? This is an office supply store. Of course yes, we do carry pencils. They're right over there.
Thank you. And of course I'm serious. I'm in a very serious line of work.
Oh, what sort of work do you do?
Serious work.
Ah, I see. Well, here you go. Pencils. Lots of pencils. I'm sure you've got something to meet your needs.
I need durable pencils that I can sharpen to an extremely fine point.
That would be the wooden pencils.
I need a very high quality wooden pencil.
High quality? Well, how about these, right here?
They are all much more expensive than all the other pencils.
They are, but they're actually pretty good. I opened a pack once. I bought a pack once to try them out, and they're very sturdy, and they sharpen to a really fine point.
Oh, how fine.
Well, I wouldn't want to fall on one.
Oh, exactly what kind of damage can you inflict?
You could poke your eye out, I guess, depending on the angle and how hard you fell. It could break your skin, maybe puncture a lung or something.
Do you think one of these could possibly kill a man?
Maybe if it was in the neck or something. Yes.
Excellent. I'll take 100. I thought today would never end.
Today was the worst day of my life.
The customers were just...
Yeah,
And they were like...
I know.
And I had to just stand there and take it.
I can't wait for tomorrow.
Tomorrow we'll have our vengeance. Your phone's buzzing.
It's a text from my cousin. He says he heard the district manager went to the Bedford store after he left Haynesville. Spent the rest of the day there and fired a bunch of more people.
You mean he wasn't here today?
No, he'll probably be coming tomorrow for sure. We'll have to behave for another day.
True. Nervous. Very dreadfully nervous I have been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how calmly I can tell you the whole story. Many people are consumed with media and stories that contain a sense of horror. Today, I am taking you back to 1843, when one of the most famous horror stories was written. The Telltale Heart tells the story of an unnamed narrator who commits a murder, and then tries to prove his sanity, but ultimately fails when he begins to hear the old man's heart beating beneath the floorboards. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. It is impossible to say how the idea first entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object, there was none. Passion, there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold, I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so by degrees, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, or with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him, and every night I turned the latch of his door and opened it,
And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, that no light shone out. And then I thrust in my head. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so I might not disturb the old man's sleep. And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And I did this for 7 long nights, but I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had passed the night. So, you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed, to suspect that every night I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think, there I was, opening the door, little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for I moved on the bed, suddenly, as if startled. Now, you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch with a thick darkness, and so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on, steadily, steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern, when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. I knew what the old man felt, and pitied him. Although I chuckled at heart, I knew that he had been lying awake ever since he had turned in the bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but cannot. He had been saying to himself, It's nothing but the wind in the chimney. It's only a mouse crossing the floor. It's only a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until, at length, a simple dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. Never before that I saw it with a perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray precisely upon the spot. And have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over acuteness of the sense? I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. Ba-boom, ba-boom. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, but even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker, and louder every instant. Ba-boom, ba-boom. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Do you mark me as well that I am nervous? So I am. And now at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of the old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder, louder. I thought the heart must burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leapt into the room. He shrieked once, and in an instant I dragged him to the floor and placed the heavy bed over him. But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. Ba-boom, ba-boom. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there for many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His Eve would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. I took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber, deposited all between the scantlings, and then I replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. When I made an end of these labors, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search, and search well. I led them to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. And the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. They sat and they chatted of familiar things, but ere long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but continued and gained defiantness until I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. Ba-boom, ba-boom. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles, in high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. I paced the floor to and fro, with heavy strides as if excited by fury to the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the floorboards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men sat, chatted pleasantly, and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? No. They heard. They suspected. They knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die, and now again, hark, louder, louder, louder. Villains, I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here. It's the beating of his hideous heart.
Today, class, let's begin by going over our homework assignment. Everybody, please, take out your addition problems.
Miss Martin, Miss Martin, Miss Martin.
Yes, Sally, just take the hall pass and hurry back, okay?
No, Miss Martin, I don't have to go. I was just wondering if you'd heard what happened to our missing class hamsters, Sandra and Simon. They've been missing for 48 hours. Surely someone must have heard something by now.
Well, Sally, I don't know what to tell you. Nobody has responded to your missing hamster posters you put up in the hallways.
Miss Martin, perhaps they went on a field trip and got lost.
Oh, Norman, don't be silly. With all the red tape here at this school, they would have had to fill out lots of tedious paperwork and receive permission from the principal 30 days in advance to go on a field trip.
Oh, okay.
And we all know that hamsters are illiterate and don't have a concept of calendars. Isn't that right, children?
But, Miss Martin, have you asked any of the other teachers? Have you asked the principal if he's seen them?
Well, I asked our custodian, Mr. Lecter, if he found them dead in their cages, flushed them down the toilet, or whatever it is he does with dead classroom pets, and he said no.
so I honestly don't know what to tell you.
But it just doesn't add up.
Sally, thank you for that very nice segue. Okay, class, who would like to answer homework question number 1?
It's more than obvious that no one in this class cares that our 2 class mascots have vanished without a trace. They were the furriest friends a second grader could ever have. This is outrageous. If this were a Fox News story, Gerardo Rivera himself would be here demanding answers. Wait, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? I read the Nancy Drew mysteries. I've seen every episode of Hardy Boys season 1 through 3 on DVD. I played Clue Jr., and Blue's Clues is my favorite TV show. I'll solve this mystery today, and I'll solve it myself, for my name isn't Sally Smart, second grade sleuth. For years, children around the country have spent their childhood days becoming detectives alongside characters such as Nancy Drew, Dora the Explorer, and Blue's Clues.
When the class mascots go missing, second grader Sally uses what she has learned to solve the case.
Sally Smart, second grade sleuth.
By Gregory T. Burns. Okay, class, line up. We're all going outside for recess.
Well, if it isn't Valerie, Velma, and Vanessa, the meanest girls in the 3rd grade.
Well, if it isn't Sally Smart, the second grader whose last name she isn't. I don't get it. It was intended for brunettes, Velma. Oh, okay. Anyways, what do we owe this displeasure, Sally?
I couldn't help but notice the identical sweatshirts and matching hats you girls are wearing.
It's called conformity. Obviously, despite the lame, lack fashion sense of second graders, nobody likes you enough to form a tight-knit circle of friends that are totally inseparable.
Inseparable, huh? Hey, Vanessa, is that a booger hanging down from your nose?
Rose, Miss Davis, may I go check myself in the mirror?
Hey, Velma, I saw your boyfriend, Vince, checking out talking to some very pretty 4th graders by the swing. Guess he's into older women now.
He'd better not be talking to those girls. Vincent Vandersloot the 3rd. Stop talking to those 4th graders right this minute.
Well, well, well. Looks like it's just you and me, Valerie. And FYI, I don't conform. I'm a Methodist.
Okay, fine. What do you want?
You know perfectly well what you want. No doubt you and the girls have seen my missing hamster posters in the hallway. I want to know what you know about you-know-who. You know?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you don't have to have 4 eyes to notice that you and the girls have suddenly graced the school playground wearing matching knitted hats with 2 furry hamster balls hanging from knitted tie strings.
You are insane. My mother knitted these with her own 2 arthritic hands.
Was that before or after she snuck into our classroom and snuffed out the lives of Sandra and Simon, then sauntered home to perform the daunting duty of skinning them?
Sally, why don't you try saying it instead of spraying it? Anyways, these are faux fur balls from Joanne Fabrics.
Hey, foxy ladies. Is there a problem here?
Listen, Tyrone, I know you got a lot of responsibility as playground mom, but I am in the middle of solving one of the biggest mysteries ever to disgrace our school. It seems that Miss Perfect here is trying to blame Miss Innocent when it comes to admitting she's Miss Guilty at being Miss Accomplice in the disappearance of Sandra and Simon, our 2 missing class hamsters from Miss Martin's class.
Girl, you've been doing some sleuthing.
Tyrone, you might want to stand back a bit. The furs have to fly when I yank our missing class hamsters off of Valerie's knit hat. Sandra and Simon deserve a proper burial.
That did it. I'm telling the principal.
Sally, as principal, I can't help but be concerned with your behavior today. Miss Martin has informed me on why you are so upset, but that doesn't excuse your playground and your behavior in the playground. I think Miss Martin has something she would like to tell you. Miss Martin?
Sally, this is very difficult for me, and I can only hope that you will keep what is said in this office confidential. Clearly, it is important for you to know the truth, but there is no need for your classmates to go through years and years and years of therapy just because you couldn't keep a secret. Now, are we clear on that?
Yes, Miss Martin.
Sally, do you remember when we used every last penny of our fundraising money to buy the biggest and the best Happy Happy Hamster House?
Oh yeah, you said it was like Disneyland for hamsters.
Sally, do you have any idea how many accidents and deaths happen at amusement parks every year?
What? You mean?
Yes, there was an accident. I came to school early 3 days ago.
You are so punctual, Miss Martin.
Anyway, as soon as I unlocked the classroom door, I could smell mutilation in the air. At first, I thought it might just be our moldy carpet, but no, it was mutilation. I poured my book bag on the floor containing 18 sets of papers it took me half the night to grade.
You are so dedicated, Miss Martin.
I ran to the Happy Hamster house, and I peeked inside. There was Sonia, sporting a ridiculously high mohawk. The wood chips were moist and damp. I can only assume he peed directly into the electrical socket. On the opposite side of the cage, Simon was lying on his back, sprawled on top of a part of the detached tunnel from the upper portion of the cage. With Sonia dead, Simon, I can only assume, didn't want to live a solitary life. So he climbed the 8-story tunnel, somehow unscrewed the hardware, then leapt to his untimely demise. Part of the little tunnel was lying on his little hamstrings.
Wait a minute. Miss Martin, I thought you said Simon was laying on top of the fallen portion of the tower. This morning, you told us that hamsters are illiterate and don't have a concept of calendar. As you know, hamsters also don't have opposable thumbs necessary to unscrew hardware and disassemble hamster tunnels. You killed our class pets, didn't you, Miss Martin?
Yes, I did. And do you want to know why? They were a classroom distraction. They would have lowered all your state test scores, constantly running around that squeaky wheel. I couldn't even think. They began consuming my every thought. They had to be destroyed.
Well, now I know why. But how? How did you do it, Miss Martin?
It was easier than you might think. I simply took the caps off of our permanent markers. The fumes are enough to get anybody after a few minutes. That morning, when Valerie's mother walked in the door, asking if I had any unused cotton balls, I simply gave her Sonia and Simon. I had put them in an empty Kleenex box, but I had no idea she would use them to make hats for all the girls in the 3rd grade.
You are so fired, Miss Martin.
You can't be serious.
Clean out your desk immediately. I'll notify the school board this afternoon. Sally, you should be very proud of yourself solving a difficult crime like this. Have you learned anything from this, Sally? How do you think today's activities will affect you in the future? Honestly, I haven't got a clue.
In 1940, my father was a diplomat representing the country of Japan. Our family lived in a small town in a small country called Lithuania. There was my father, my mother, my aunt Sasetku, my younger brother Chayaki, and my 3-month-old baby brother Haruki. My father worked in the basement for his office. In our room, Chayaki and I played with little toy German soldiers, tanks, and planes. Little did we know that real soldiers were coming our way. Then, one morning in late July, my life changed forever. This piece, which was about Haruki Sugihara, whose father was the only person to receive the Righteous Among Nations Award from Yad Vashem at the Israeli Holocaust Museum. This story about the family is an important one for us today. It is a story that I believe will inspire you to have passion for people and to respect life in itself. This story proves that one person can make a difference. There are many people outside, my mother said. We don't know what's going to happen. In the living room, my parents told my brother and I not to let anybody see us looking through the window. So I parted the curtains a tiny bit. Outside, I saw hundreds of people staring at our house through the bars of the wooden gate. The grown-ups all shouted in Polish, a language I didn't understand. Then I saw the children. They stared at the house of the bars through our wooded gate. Some of them were my age. Like the grown-ups, their eyes were red from not having slept for days. They all wore coats. Some wore more than one coat. But if they came from somewhere else, where were their suitcases? What do they want? I asked my mother. They have come to ask your father for help. If he doesn't help them, they will be killed. I felt like crying. Father, please help them. My father stood quietly next to me, but I knew he saw the children. Then some men from the crowd started climbing over the fence,
Borislav and Goudier, two people who worked with my father, tried to keep the crowd calm. My father walked outside and stood on the steps. Borislav translated what my father said. He asked 5 people to come inside and talk. My father and the men met downstairs. My father could speak Japanese, Chinese, Russian, German, French, and English. At this meeting, everyone spoke in Russian. For 2 hours, my father listened to the frightening stories. These people were refugees, people who ran away from their homes, because if they didn't, they would be killed. They were Jews from Poland, escaping the Nazis who took over their country. The 5 men heard my father could issue them visas, official written permissions to travel to another country. The hundreds of Jewish refugees outside hoped that they could travel east through the Soviet Union and end up in Japan. Once in Japan, they could go to another country. Was it true? Could my father issue these visas? And if he didn't, they could all die. My father answered that yes, he could issue some, but not hundreds. To do that, he would have to ask permission from his government in Japan. It was one of the worst nights of my father's life. He had to make a decision. If he helped these people, would he put our family in danger? But if he didn't help these people, they could all die. The next day, my father said that he was going to ask his government for the visas. My mother agreed that it was the right thing to do. My father sent the message by cable. I watched the crowd as they waited for the Japanese government's reply. Then, finally, the answer came. It was a no. My father couldn't issue that many visas to Japan. For the next 2 days, he thought about what to do. Hundreds more refugees joined the crowd. My father sent a second message to his government. And again, it was a no. We still couldn't go outside. Father, why are these people here? What do they want? Why do they have to be here? My father replied, I cannot help these people yet, but when the time comes, I will help every single one of them. My father cabled his superiors yet a 3rd time, and I knew the answer by the look in his eyes. I have to do something, he said. I may have to disobey my government, but if I don't, I will be disobeying God. The next morning, he brought our family together to ask what he should do. My mother and Aunt Setsuku said that we had to think about the people outside before we thought about ourselves. My father said, and I said to my father, if we don't help these people, won't they die? My father replied, I will start helping these people. Outside, the crowd grew quiet as my father spoke, with Borislav translating. I will issue visas to every one of you to the last, so please, wait patiently. The crowd stood frozen for a second. And then the refugees burst into cheers. My father opened the garage door, and the crowd tried to rush in. To keep order, Borislav handed out cards with numbers on them. My father wrote each visa by hand. And as he had finished each one, he looked into the eyes of the person receiving the visa and said, good luck. For about a month, there was always a line leading to the garage. Every day, from early in the morning till late at night, my father would write 300 visas. He watered down the ink to make it last. Goody helped him by stamping my father's name on the visas. One day, my father pressed so hard on his fountain pen that the tip broke off. During that month, I hardly ever saw my father, only at night. His eyes were red and he could hardly talk. While he slept, my mother massaged his stiff arm from writing all day. Soon, my father grew so tired, He wanted to stop writing the visas, but my mother encouraged him to continue. Many people are still waiting. Let's issue more visas and save as many lives as we can. While the Germans approached from the west, the Soviets came and took over Lithuania. They ordered my father to leave, and so did his Japanese government, which reassigned him to Germany. Still, my father wrote the visas until we absolutely had to move out of our home. We stayed at a hotel for 2 days, and my father still wrote the visas for the same people who followed them there. Then it was time to leave Lithuania. Refugees who had slept at the train station crowded around my father. Some refugees surrounded my father to protect him. Now, my father just issued permission slips with his name on it. As the train pulled away, the refugees ran alongside. My father still handed out the papers out the window. As the train picked up speed, my father began throwing them to waiting hands. The people in front of the crowd looked into my father's eyes and cried, "We will never forget you. We will see you again." I gazed out the train window, watching Lithuania and the crowd of refugees fade away. I wondered if we would ever see them again. Back then, I didn't understand what they had done, or why it was so important. I do now.
Nervous?
A little.
I'll do the intro and the lead. Then it's your turn.
Thanks. Too bad Troy had a heart attack.
At least he had the decency to do it off air.
Shouldn't we offer our condolences?
For your sympathy. We'll launch into a new special, only if he dies. A death always jumpstarts the ratings. Cheerfully, I'll eulogize our time together as co-anchors and mention how he'd want me to take his place.
Self-serving, aren't we?
Shh, countdown.
5, 4, 3.
Good evening. This is Shelley Summers in the KDST Channel 6 Evening News for Pahrump, Nevada. What do you think newscasters talk about out there? Do they even really like each other in real life?
In this piece, 2 anchorwomen duke it out in a cutthroat battle to the top of the ratings scale.
However, they leave their audience wondering if they're watching the news or a reality show.
Anchorwoman.
By Paul Dalala. Substituting for Troy Thomas is Sally Shell. Our top story tonight, a derailment of a Union Pacific train in downtown Las Vegas spills 25,000 pounds of crushed ice, 11,000 containers of orange juice, and 8,000 pounds of sugar. The pileup resulted in a giant orange slushie. Back to you, Sally.
Thank you, Shelley. Our top local story, daredevil skateboarder Danny Diver rolled down a massive ramp at nearly 50 miles per hour to successfully jump the Pahrump landfill. Incredibly, Diver did the deed without protective gear. 3 spectators were taken to Pahrump Hospital for respiratory complaints. Maybe next time, Daredevil Danny won't pick such a ripe day at the pit.
No.
Back to you, Shelley.
Thank you, Sally. We'll be back with breaking news about a robbery at Bank of America. First, a word from our sponsors, Spring Mountain Auto Air and Mobility Products.
Very good, Sally. A little fast. Smile more. Memorize the mantra. The camera loves me.
Thank you, Shelley, for the tips. Isn't that robbery supposed to be my story?
Technically, but it's breaking news. The lead newscasters report it.
But it's my story. I took the call.
Rank has its privileges. Get over it.
You got the rank part right.
What was that?
Rank. I understand rank, or pulling rank.
Ron, when you're back, camera on me.
It's not fair.
Life's not good. Get over yourself.
5, 4, 3.
Here we go. Shelley Summers with the 6 o'clock evening news. This just in. A one-legged man seen hopping across the Albertson parking lot, spewing money from a knapsack, drew the attention of an off-duty policeman. The officer pursued on foot, demanding the suspect halt. Ignoring him, the one-legged man bounced away. When asked why he tried to rob Bank of America, the unidentified thief said it would be easy to rob his own bank. The tellers are friendly and give good service. Isn't that funny, Sally?
Droll, perhaps. Ironic, certainly. But funny, no. Funny is watching you squint at the teleprompter.
Well, then maybe you should do the next story.
Thanks, Shelley, since you owe me. In other news tonight, casino mogul and art aficionado Steve Wynn announced plans to build another mega resort in partnership with the former rival Donald Trump. Dubbed the Mayor Trump, the Sea Trump, this jewel will showcase a 65,000-gallon aquarium stocked with erotic fish. Oh, I mean, exotic fish.
Stupid.
Let's go to commercial. Let's hear from the folks at Sauter Chadu Chrysler Jeep Dodge.
How dare you criticize me on air? I lost the contact. What about your screw-up?
I bet you bribed Ernie to rig the teleprompter. Not very professional.
I was a pro before you were born.
Speaking of pro, don't you have to meet with your probation officer after this broadcast?
Mine were catty today. Never mind, though. Takes more than that to upset the queen of Tayda's Channel 6 News. Always bring the ladies. Where are you, contact? Come to mommy.
Put your crown where your mouth is. Are you willing to risk your anchor position?
What risk? You're on. Lose the resides on air.
Won't be me.
Oh, this is interesting. You know our general manager, Tammy Spinoza?
I've heard of him, but never met him.
Well, you won't be able to meet him. Seems he met a Filipino woman online and is moving to Manila to marry her. So the owner will have to find a replacement.
Wow, that's sudden.
One thing about this business, expect the unexpected.
5, 4, 3.
We're back. The Channel 6 Evening News continues with veteran newscaster Shelley Somerson. Newbie Sally Shelton, whatever.
Well, at least I'm a journalism major. Shelley's GED stands for Great in English.
Well, your minor in plagiarism? Wasn't that from some online diploma mill?
What news item is next on tap, Shell?
Well, Sal, it looks like the weather. Florida can expect its 8th hurricane this season. Yes, Hurricane Zelda is on track to zip up the Florida Keys all the way up to Tallahassee. In light of this advice, stock in U-Haul Inc. rose 140% this week as families fled the rain and wind-damaged state for drier climes. In the West,
My turn. In the West, temperatures continue to soar to record levels. Death Valley topped the nation's list today with 125 degrees. Phoenix hit 119, and Bakersfield a whopping 115. Due to peak load demands, experts predict blackouts and a blip in unplanned births.
What?
So keep those baby names handy. Higher electric bills soon to follow. Shell? All fixed now, or do we need a doctor's opinion?
Which? In the world of sports today, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is expected to... Stop. Do you have to do that now?
You're the pro. Don't let me bother you. Continue.
Tiger Woods is expected after a 6th major in a row PGA Championship, which continues tomorrow.
Elsewhere in sports, in an upset, Latvia won the wife-carrying championship for the first time. According to legend, wife-stealing was an accepted practice in Sonjarvi, Finland, which spawned this contest. In response, Germany's television consortium announced it was preparing a pilot for a new reality show called Can You Haul This House, Frau?
Well, if you were competing, it would be called the Heifer Carrying Championship, Sal.
Sow. It was time out at a funeral today. Gordon Cleats, a diehard Phillies fan from Rochester, New York, got his last wish.
I got a wish for you, Sal. Read my mind.
I would if I could, but you know how blank bimbo brains are.
Cow. Mourners at the Castaway Funeral Home viewed Cleats in his homemade Phillies uniform.
Oh. And watched a video play-by-play of the 6th game of the 1993 World Series game, in which the tireless Phillies succumbed to the Toronto Blue
Jays, the Toronto Blue Jays. The family, decked out in red and blue cheerleading uniforms, chanted softly in the background. Cleats, who sported a tattoo.
Who sported a tattoo of the team logo on his bald head, was renowned for his attendance at every Phillies home game at Citizens Bank Park since 2004. Die for it, sucker.
Well, this just in. Washington reported gas prices will rise again.
After the price of crude oil jumped to $150 a barrel, the president urged citizens to think creatively. Meanwhile, in Cantaluna, Kansas, an entrepreneur is experimenting with extracting ethylene from gummy bears. Taught that sell.
No problemo, Shell. Channel 6 News anchorwoman Shelley Summers will take time off tomorrow for her monthly Botox injection. If that fails, her doctor's planning on using Bondo.
Well, look who's talking. Next time you get liposuction, the fat barrel will be full.
The only reason you got this job is because you have an extra Y chromosome, which accounts for the extra facial hair.
Well, I hear you got a new bumper sticker, Sally. Keep families together, support inbreeding.
Shelley's idea of a night out is to cruise the landfill.
At least I don't cruise trailer parks. Bring it on, newbie.
In your face, mama.
Loser.
Cretin.
You. What's a cretin? Oh, idiot.
You idiot!
You would hit a woman?
Who says you're a woman?
Well, yeah, well. Yes! Who's the queen now? I am anchor woman. I'm the queen of the ratings. And that's the news for Friday.
Update on Troy. Jump ball.
It's mine! Give me!
Stay back. I'm warning you.
What are you gonna do? Throw it at me?
I'm going to read it.
You're about to be scooped.
Acute indigestion, not heart attack. Back tomorrow. Go Sally, best Troy.
Go, Sally. Go, Sally. After all those years of putting up with your big nose and your bad debates, go, Sally. Troy, if you're watching this, I hope you bust a gut and die. Guess I mean I've got the anchor position no matter what.
Please announce to all employees of KDST Channel 6 Television that our general manager, Tiny Spinoza, in his absence, has appointed me as general intern manager. Signed, Troy Thomas. Good for Troy.
I've still got the anchor position.
There's more. P.S. Shelley, you're fired. Sally, the anchorwoman position is yours.
What?
Signing off, an ecstatic Sally Shell and a shell-shocked Shelley Summers. We'll see you tomorrow night. Well, one of us will. Nighty-night, prom.
My mother, nothing fancy, nothing flashy, but mine. You had a way about you. Sometimes people say, I have it about me too. It feels so good to know that you're here. I still remember the day, the Thursday before Good Friday, cold, rainy. I didn't feel like Easter was ever going to come. You took me to buy Easter shoes. Shiny, white, $4.96, and as ugly as sin. $4.96. That was our secret, and no one else had to know. I promised myself I was going to keep those shoes forever. We returned home to Dad, freshly returned from a root canal, spread on the couch and high on painkillers. Too chillin' for you to take care of, and you did so without complaining. At supper, we had cornbread, peas, and turnip greens. Nothing fancy, but you made it. I grumbled about having to go to school on Good Friday. It seemed so unfair. I begged you not to make me go. You said we'd talk about it later, but then it was time for your bridge game with the ladies' club. Dad and I bundled you off, but you kept coming back, Mother. You forgot your raincoat and swapped purses. You didn't want to go. You were worried about us, with Dad still hurting and Richard not home from his job yet, but we made you go. We reassured you. Don't worry, we'll be fine. Looking back, I still remember you standing by the car, your hand on the door, still looking back at me and Dad, still uncertain, still thinking better of it, but we waved you off and watched you drive away. Daddy has never forgiven himself. Saying goodbye may be one of the hardest things we ever do in our lives, whether it's for a couple of days, years, or sometimes even a lifetime. In Will Webster's beautiful narrative poem, he tells the story of his loving mother whose life ended all before her time. Story on page 6 by Will Webster. I was upstairs doing math problems. I was listening to the static of the radio when the phone rang. An official voice asked to speak to my father. Said it was important. You had an accident, Mother. Car accident. You were hurt pretty bad. Coming across an overpass, there was a truck in the wrong lane. All I could think about was that one time you pulled off the road, pulled over for no reason. We all had stared at you like you were crazy, but then we saw it. A truck in the wrong lane, coming too fast around the corner, would have hit us and killed us all, but you saw it coming. You knew. Intuition, you said it. We all laughed about it, but we knew it had saved us that day. Why not now? Why didn't you see this one? Why didn't you pull over? The hospital, Richard came in from his night job, all grown up, and went with my dad through the doors and down the hall. I wasn't old enough, so I wasn't allowed to go. The nurse gave me your bloody purse and told me to wait in the lobby. I wasn't old enough, so it's not like I had a choice in the matter. I was lonely. I hated hospitals and I hated bloody purses, but now looking back, I would have waited over a year. I could have only have seen you one last time. A couple of hours later, the doctor came out smiling. Turns out everything was going to be okay. You had a banged up face, but the rest were minor cuts and abrasions. I begged the doctor to let me see you, but rules are rules. I hate rules like that. Dad came out too. Told me you asked for me. Maybe tomorrow, he said. Dad and Richard waved goodbye, and I left with Mrs. Harville, a good friend of our family. After all, a hospital is no place for a child. What I needed was a good night's sleep. Besides, everything was going to be okay. Alone in bed that night, Mother, I prayed for you. I thanked God, silently rejoicing that everything was going to be okay. But I woke up to long faces at the foot of my bed, propping each other up with shoulders. Richard and Dad, their eyes swollen and red, said, "We've got some bad news." In an ambulance, on the way to another hospital, a bigger one, where they could do plastic surgery on your face to make you look pretty again. Something went wrong. Internal bleeding, punctured lungs. Mom, you died holding on to Daddy's hand, and Richard was right there beside you. It's not fair. I was supposed to be there too, so I could see you one last time, so I could love you like they did. But I didn't cry, not then. I couldn't. I just went numb. At home, the relatives began arriving, and I just sat on the couch staring at the wall. "Poor dear," they would say, "doesn't understand. My eyes flooded with protest. Doesn't understand? Doesn't understand?" Then came the ugly realization. I didn't. They told me that everything was going to be okay. They lied to me, every single one of them. I didn't understand at all, and I never will. The little girl next door thought I was joking when I told her what happened to me. But worse than the disbelief was the pity. Knowing that everyone would feel different around me, knowing that I would begin to tell the story to everyone I knew sooner or later, and hear their apologies, and have to fill out the forms that ask all those nosy questions like mother's name, mother's occupation, or are both parents still living? Or there was that one lady who wanted to talk to you on the phone the other day, and no one else was home, so I had to tell her. They finally tell me how sorry they are, but they will never be able to relate. Strong, Mother, feisty. I put 3-inch fighter, so I said I would be strong too, for you. I sat there stone-faced at your funeral, pretending not to have a lump in my throat as I walked past your closed casket. Daddy said you don't look the same. He said we'd all be better off if our last memory of you was pretty. The church was packed. I didn't even know you knew so many people. Easter Sunday. What a rotten day for a funeral. Never would have approved. No Easter baskets, no egg hunts, just silence. Silence that is only broken by periodic cleaning. At night, Mother, I would have dreams it was all just a joke, a hoax, and boy, did we fall for it. Or maybe you were a secret agent, and the government planned a fake death for you to fool the Russians. That's why I couldn't see you. Your coffin had been empty, and you were living just a few blocks away, You were living in a pretty pink house with a big, beautiful rose bush. And it was just around the corner all this time. Can you believe it? Then I would wake up to reality all over again. Mother, I have a confession to make. All those times I smiled and said, no, really, I'm fine. I wasn't. I was lying. I was angry inside. Angry at the world for treating me different, for something I couldn't control. Angry at the truck driver who took you away from me forever. Angry at the doctor who had the audacity to lie to me and say that everything was going to be okay. Angry because I didn't get to say goodbye to you like Dad and Richard did. This may sound funny, but I never really liked tokens, you know? Richard was so upset. Last Christmas, we waited too late. We couldn't find a flower shop open. We were going to put flowers on your grave like we do every Christmas and Mother's Day. A token. If this sounds callous in any way, Mother, I just want you to know I don't mean it to sound this way. It's just not enough to visit twice a year like a dentist appointment. And in the end, flowers only fade and die, unlike the memories, especially the ones that hurt. Mother, I was also going to tell you how Grandma still gets a tear in her eye for no reason. How Richard finished college and got a job, doing something he always wanted to do. Dad says he'll take me to get my driver's license next month. Oh, and they found oil on Granny's land, and I guess we're all going to be rich, just as soon as the check comes in. I was also going to tell you how Dad puts all your pictures in a box in the attic, but I think you knew that already. For the first time, I don't think I'm going to have to lie when I say I'm going to be okay. I think that everything will be all right after all. It always struck me as important somehow. You died at 2 a.m. on Good Friday, just like Jesus. I used to think you were a saint, a martyr, but I know better now. You were human, just like the rest of us. The sky didn't go black, the earth didn't shake. No miracles or signs of wonders occurred. It wasn't even good enough for the front page of paper. Local woman dies in head-on collision. Story on page 6. No big deal. Not to them, at least. You were just my mother. Nothing fancy. Nothing flashy. But mine.
So?
We're short.
Well, by how much?
That's the kicker. We're short by one student.
Are you kidding me? The dean really thinks one student is going to make a difference?
You know how anal he is with budgets.
But we don't have any more interviews scheduled. When does he want a recommendation by?
Today.
Today?
Or we're fired.
We're fired. What sense does that make?
I think he still blames us for accepting that pyromaniac that burned down the science center.
But he had an amazing essay. How are we to know? Well, all right. What are we going to do? We finished our interviews last week.
How about we look through the waitlist files and start calling? If any of them can see us today, we'll give them a shot. We're high school seniors, and we're going to be applying for college.
We're a little bit nervous for our college interviews.
And so are the characters in this piece.
13 Ways to Screw Up Your College Interview.
By Ian McQuaid.
Harold, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Did you have any trouble finding the Barrow building?
Oh my gosh. That's a personal matter. I'd rather not answer that.
Okay. Well, shall we get started?
Actually, orange is my favorite. It's more flamboyant.
What? Okay. Well, we're a smaller school here with smaller class sizes and personal attention, but we have the resources of a big state school.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Good. Now, have you thought about a major yet?
That is my mother you're talking about there! Oh gosh. You didn't just ask to see my mother in a two-piece bathing suit, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Allow me to explain. I suffer from an extremely rare disorder known as chronic mixtitis. It's a neurological condition which renders a person incapable of hearing a question correctly.
And by correctly, you mean?
Every time you're going to ask me a question, I'm going to hear a completely different one.
I see. How come I've never heard of quaniquestrium mixidus before?
Eleanor Roosevelt, probably.
Well, okay. Shall we continue with the interview?
It's in Argentina, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So what kind of extracurricular activities are you interested in?
7th grade. Melissa Block. We both had braces. It was kind of awkward.
What's your favorite subject in school?
I would take South Pike Road except during rush hour.
What's your favorite color?
Every Sunday.
Is it just me, or is this completely pointless?
I don't know too much about the salivary gland. Sorry.
Well, that went well. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Do you need directions to get back on the I-40?
Cookie Monster, I guess. I just like the googly eyes. Is that weird?
A little? Yeah. And our men's basketball team, while not nationally ranked, has gone to the AA tournament for the past several years. And we also have some other clubs where you can participate on a more casual level. You know, I feel like I've been talking this entire time, but you've been very quiet.
I don't think I feel very good.
Gave you that idea.
Oh, hey, thanks again for coming on such short notice.
Oh, please, it was no trouble at all.
So tell me about yourself. What subjects do you like in school? You know, do you have any hobbies? Stuff like that.
Hobbies? I have a few, I suppose. I used to be really into swimming, but I haven't. Not since that day.
Are you okay? We don't
No, it's okay. I want to. I need to talk about it. It was a blistering summer day. Bill Blakemore, who keeps his local weatherman, said it was one of the hottest days in recorded history and advised us to stay in at all costs. But I ignored his warnings. Swimming was my life, and life doesn't stop. Not even for a handsome weatherman with salt and peppered hair. I went to the pool early, and it was during my morning stretches that I saw him. A little boy, fiery red hair, freckles sprinkled across his pale white skin, teetering on the edge of the pool. Before I could even think to warn him, he tumbled into the watery abyss. His body thrashed violently, his voice silenced from all the water he was swallowing. I jumped into the water as quickly as I could, but it was too... That was 8 years ago, and I've never stepped foot in the pool since.
Lyle, that was very brave of you to share with me, witnessing a death like that, especially a young child.
Oh, no, he didn't die.
What?
No, the lifeguard pulled him out of the water.
I thought you said it was too late.
It was too late for me. I couldn't save it because I was too late.
You know what? Let's just move on.
Okay.
So, what is it about this school that interests you? Why do you want to come here?
Well, there are many reasons, I suppose, but only one that ever really mattered. It was a crisp day in March, much like today. Amanda Barker, my best friend since the 3rd grade, and I were leaving Mrs. Fleener's excessively boring geometry class. Amanda asked me if I'd thought about applying to college. I told her, a little, yeah. Then she told me about this university and that I should check it out. I said, maybe, yeah. I was flippant, disregarding my best friend's advice with 2 little inarticulate words. And those words were the last I ever said to Amanda.
I'm so sorry, losing a best friend like that. How old was Amanda when she passed?
Passed?
Died?
Oh, no, she didn't die.
You got it.
No, she's going to Yale in the fall. She's very smart.
I thought you said that was the last time you ever spoke to her.
It was. We had a falling out after that. We just went our separate ways. It was mutual.
So, to get the record straight, you saw a kid fall into a pool who was almost immediately picked up by a lifeguard, and you lost touch with a friend. And these are the emotional events that have shaped your life and caused you so much distress?
You weren't there. You don't know what it's like to be there and see it.
Well, it was great to meet you, and I know it's not my place, but you might want to consider some kind of therapy.
Therapy? Yes, I went to a therapist once. It was a crisp day in August, and I had been feeling optimistic.
That was Wipeout.
Okay, well, shall we get started with the interview now? I think...
And now, the orchestral opening for Sweeney Todd. Hi, you must be Kelly.
Yes.
Hi. Great. Take a seat.
Sure.
So, let's see here. Oh, you know what? We never received your college essay.
Is that right?
Yeah. Do you have a copy of it?
Sure. I've got it right here in my bag.
Oh, sweet. Thanks. So, wait, this is your college essay? Yeah. But this is a drawing of a girl in a pink dress saying, "Oh boy."
Oh, boy!
Well, let's look at your transcript, shall we? You know what? You don't have a GPA.
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm not sure how you got to this point. You can't go to college without a GPA.
Perhaps you'd like to see my recommendation.
No. No, Kelly, there's no way any university, let alone ours, is going... And this is a picture of a cat saying, meow.
Meow! Yes!
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
We'll be in touch.
Oh, boy.
Please leave. You're freaking me out.
Not one?
Not a single one.
Oh, this is bad.
This is extremely bad.
You must have been too critical. I'm sure you saw at least one kid we could recommend.
Hey, if you want to look through my files, be my guest. Hey, if you're going to look through mine, I'm going to look through yours. All right? All right. Hi, my name is Emily Cart, and I have an appointment at 5.
Oh my gosh, sorry. Yeah, right. Yeah, I got a little sidetracked.
Oh, so should I wait outside?
No. Please come in.
Emily, right?
Yeah. Wow, so nice record. Valedictorian of your class? They decided that already?
Normally they wait until the end of the year, but I'm sorry. But I never leave my phone on. I'm sorry. It's just this is my mom, and I told her not to call unless it was really urgent.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It'll be quick. Hello? Mom. Yeah, no, it's going fine. No, I'm not going to ask him on a date. No. No. Okay, any news? Wait, so I'm in. So I'm officially an Ivy League. Oh my God, yes! I'm so sorry.
Well, this guy draws pictures.
Talk about getting stared at. You know, it's funny. Babies come out with no hair at all, and everybody thinks they're the cutest thing to grace the face of the earth. But when I step out, smooth skin, just as smooth as said baby before, I get stared at much how I think the lepers in biblical times got stared at. But what I want to say to those who stare, it's called chemo plus radiation, people. A toxic combination. A killer. Some of the worst news a person can hear is a positive cancer test. Breast cancer affects countless women around the world today. And while they may battle fiercely, even the strongest woman doesn't know how her battle will end. Follow Evelyn Bankston's journey in I Dream of Lillian by Elise Sharon. When people think killer, they think of doors getting kicked in at 3 a.m. in the morning, blood everywhere, and screams that can be heard through walls. But you see, when I think killer, I think of the very nice-looking Dr. James Middleton. Now, when I say nice-looking, ladies, I mean imagine your dream man. Now multiply him by 10. That is Dr. J, as I call him. But I'm joking. But it was so hard to believe that such a killer-looking man, no pun intended, maybe a little, could deliver such information. Evelyn, we've detected a mass in your left breast. I'm so sorry, but it's breast cancer. Of course it's breast cancer, I think to myself. A gorgeous man like that wouldn't be declaring his love for me now, would he? No. To some woman, that would be her dream. For me, it was the nightmare my life was becoming. So what do you do next? You go home, You tell your husband the news. You both cry a little. You decide what you're going to do next. Cry a little more. You sit out on the porch at sunset with a glass of wine and accept that you don't know how many more beautiful sunsets you're going to see. My husband joins me. He holds my hand and kisses my forehead. I know he'll always be there for me. Chemo. First, let me say, when I speak of cocktails, I mean a large glass of red wine. But my new favorite flavor is chemo with a radiation twist. Now, I'm a woman, and just like all women, my first thought is, will I lose my hair? I mean, I already lost my breasts. As a woman, you start to think of the things that you have left that make you a woman. Your hair. Well, of course, I did lose it. But I wanted to change my outlook on life from the negative and turn it to positive. So it was my chance to express my fashion sense to the world. This scarf says my grandmother was raised in the South and is darn proud of it. And this scarf says my husband plays way too much golf. And this one, this is the most beautiful creation. This is the one I like to model for my daughter. Her name was going to be Lillian. After the beautiful Dr. J gave me the life-changing news, I began an aggressive round of chemo mixed with shots of radiation. And as predicted, I was sick most of the time. I went in for my weekly blood work and found out that, congratulations, you're pregnant. Pregnant? Why now? Why is the most beautiful thing in life coming to us at the wrong moment? I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning to get to the hospital. They hook me up to a machine and medicine runs through my veins. I go home, rest, vomit, and sleep. And then it starts all over. More tests, more chemo. And in the midst of all of this, one night my husband tells me that he loves me, that I am beautiful. He actually tells me that I am beautiful. As I'm bent over the toilet, he rubs my back. And when my hair started falling out, he went scarf shopping with me. And as I look at the mirror, at my naked, thinning body with minimal hair on my head, I see myself as the most unattractive woman in the world. But I came home from the grocery store one day, and he has candles lit. He massages my feet and runs a warm bath for me. And for the first time in months, this ugly woman feels absolutely perfect. The doctors told me I couldn't get pregnant. But I've learned that doctors just don't know everything. They told me to abort the baby, to kill Lillian. And I told them I would die before I killed the one living thing inside me. So I made the decision that no one expected and no one supported. I stopped going to chemo, and I stopped the radiation. They told me the odds were against us. They tried to convince me into abortion by telling me I would lose Lillian and would die. But I told them no. I told my husband no. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I killed our child. My husband, he's a good man and didn't want to lose me. But I had made my decision. So I stopped chemo and I stopped radiation. And as I prepared myself for the worst, I secretly hoped for the best. And it was a hard pregnancy. But we did it. I was able to bring Lillian into the world healthy and hopefully happy. I remember holding her for the first time. She smelled like lavender in springtime. I know that sounds crazy. But there's something about the first time you hold your child. Not your niece or your nephew, but your child. Lillian Joy Bankston. We were just so happy to finally have her here. They ran all kinds of extra tests on her to make sure that she was healthy and I hadn't passed anything on to her during chemo, radiation, or cancer. But she was absolutely perfect. The nurse came in and took Lillian from my arms. And as I watched them wheel her out in the bassinet, she looked right at me. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but for that brief moment, she smiled at me. I will never forget that smile. So beautiful. The plan was for me to be released from the hospital and take Lillian home. But I never had a chance. Carrying Lillian drained my body, and tests confirmed that it was stage 4 breast cancer. There's nothing left to do. I accepted my fate and spent the rest of my life falling in love with my daughter and thanking my husband for what he had given me. When I passed away, I wasn't in any pain. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's true. I was on a new set of cocktail drugs. This time they weren't meant to cure me. They were to make the end of my life easier. And on that last day, my husband got into the hospital bed with me while I held Lillian in my arms. And it's amazing. I carried her inside of me for 37 weeks. And now, 3 weeks later, I'm saying goodbye. It just doesn't seem fair, does it? It's not. I will, however, say this, that now that I've passed away, I can see her every day. At night, when I come to visit her, I watch her father walk her to the crib. Next to her crib are pictures, 3 of them. Our wedding day, when I was pregnant with Lillian, and the first time I held her. The captions on the frame say, "The ladies in my life." My husband puts her in the crib and hums her to sleep. And as he walks to the doorway, he stands for a moment looking back. I think he feels my presence. He closes the door and I walk over to the crib. Looking over, I can see Lillian. Her little hands and feet, chunky little legs, and beautiful face. I reach down and touch her cheek, and again, she smiles.
I'm grateful to you for the medal, but this medal is not mine alone. It belongs to all those who remember what SS killers have done to their victims. It was given to me by the American people for my writings, teaching, and for my testimony. When I write, I feel my invisible teachers standing over my shoulders, reading my words and judging their veracity. And while I feel responsible for the living, I feel equally responsible to the dead. Their memory dwells in my memory. Elie Wiesel is a Holocaust survivor who won a Nobel Peace Prize for his work as a political activist. In this speech, Objection to Bitburg Cemetery Visit, Wiesel asks President Reagan to reconsider visiting Germany's Bitburg Cemetery after it was discovered that the cemetery contains Nazi graves. Objection to Bitburg Cemetery Visit by Elie Wiesel. 40 years ago, a young man awoke and he found himself an orphan in an orphan world. What have I learned in the last 40 years? Small things. I learned the perils of language and those of silence. I learned that in extreme situations when human lives and dignity are at stake, neutrality is a sin. It helps the killers, not the victims. I learned the meaning of solitude, Mr. President. We were alone. Desperately alone. Today is April 19, and April 19, 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto rose in arms against the onslaught of the Nazis. They were so few, so young and so helpless, and nobody came to their help. Every underground received help except the Jewish underground.
And yet they managed to fight and resist and push back those Nazis and their accomplices for 6 weeks. Yet the leaders of the free world, Mr. President, knew everything and did so little or nothing, or at least nothing specifically, to save Jewish children from death. You spoke of Jewish children, Mr. President. 1 million Jewish children perished. If I spent my entire life reciting their names, I would die before I finished the task. Mr. President, I have seen children. I have seen them being thrown into the flames alive. Words, they die on my lips. So I have learned the fragility of the human condition. And I'm reminded of a great moral essayist. The gentle and forceful Abe Rosenthal, having visited Auschwitz, once wrote an extraordinary reportage about the persecution of Jews, and he called it, "Forgive them not, Father, for they knew what they did." I have learned that the Holocaust was a unique and uniquely Jewish event, albeit with universal implications. Not all victims were Jews, but all Jews were victims. I have learned the danger of indifference, the crime of indifference. For the opposite of love, I have learned, is not hate, but indifference. Jews were killed by the enemy, but betrayed by their so-called allies, who found political reasons to justify their indifference or passivity. But I have also learned that suffering confers no privileges. It all depends what one does with it. And this is why survivors, of whom you spoke, Mr. President, have tried to teach their contemporaries how to build on ruins, how to invent hope in a world that offers none, how to proclaim faith to a generation that has seen it shamed and mutilated. And we believe, that memory is the answer, perhaps the only answer. A few days ago, on the anniversary of the liberation of Buchenwald, all of us Americans watched with dismay and anger as the Soviet Union and East Germany distorted both past and present history. Mr. President, I was there. I was there when American liberators arrived and they gave us back our lives. And what I felt for them then nourishes me to the end of my days and will do so. If you only knew what we tried to do with them then. We who were so weak that we couldn't carry our own lives, we tried to carry them in triumph. Mr. President, we are grateful to the American Army for liberating us. We are grateful to this country, the greatest democracy in the world, the freest nation in the world, the moral nation, the authority in the world. And we are grateful especially to this country for having offered us haven and refuge, and grateful to its leadership for being so friendly to Israel. And Mr. President, do you know that the ambassador of Israel who sits next to you, who is my friend and has been so for many years, is himself a survivor? And if you knew all the causes we've fought together for the last 30 years, you should be prouder of him. And we are proud of him. And we are grateful, of course, to Israel. We are eternally grateful to Israel for existing. We needed Israel in 1948 as we need it now. And we are grateful to Congress for its continuous philosophy of humanism and compassion for the underprivileged. And as for yourself, Mr. President, we are so grateful to you for being a friend of the Jewish people, for trying to help the oppressed Jews in the Soviet Union, and to do whatever we can to save Sharansky and Abe Stolar and Yosef Begun and Sakharov and all the dissidents who need freedom. But Mr. President, I wouldn't be the person that I am, and you wouldn't respect me for what I am, if I were not to tell you also of the sadness that is in my heart for what has happened during the last week. And I'm sure that you, too, are sad for the same reasons. What can I do? I belong to a traumatized generation, and to us, as to you, symbols are important. And furthermore, following our ancient tradition, and we are speaking about Jewish heritage, our tradition commands us to speak truth to power. So may I speak to you, Mr. President, with respect and admiration of the events that happened? We have met 4 or 5 times, and each time I came away enriched, for I know of your commitment to humanity.
And therefore, I am convinced, as you have told us earlier when we spoke, that you were not aware of the presence of SS graves in the Bitburg Cemetery. Of course you didn't know, but now we all are aware. May I, Mr. President, if it's possible at all, implore you to do something else, to find a way, to find another way, another place. That place, Mr. President, is not your place. Your place is with the victims of the SS. Oh, we know there are political and strategic reasons, but this issue, as all issues related to that awesome event, transcend politics and diplomacy. The issue here is not politics, but good and evil, and we must never confuse them. For I have seen the SS at work. I have seen their victims. They were my friends. They were my parents. Mr. President, there was a degree of suffering and loneliness in the concentration camps that defies imagination. Cut off from the world with no refuge anywhere, sons watched helplessly their fathers being beaten to death. Mothers watched their children die of hunger. And then there was Mangala and his selections. Terror, fear, isolation, torture, gas chambers, flames rising to the heavens. But Mr. President, I know and I understand, we all do, that you seek reconciliation. And so do I, so do we. And I too wish to attain true reconciliation with the German people. I do not believe in collective guilt nor in collective responsibility. Only the killers were guilty. Their sons and daughters are not. And I believe, Mr. President, that we can and we must work together with them and with all people. And we must work to bring peace and understanding to a tormented world that, as you know, is still awaiting redemption. I thank you, Mr. President.
Manly Man poem number 1. A poem from my collection for manly men only. I'm a manly man, an aging lion. The safari is barren. My claws are gone. She did it. She did it. I was a strong Simba. Silly Simba. Silly, stupid Simba. Won't somebody stroke my mane? I am a manly man, an aging lion. Roar! 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 Roar!
Meow.
The dictionary defines a man as an adult male human being, or male that shows certain characteristics that men are typically supposed to have. But what does it really mean to be a man? This piece delves into our society's stereotypes and answers this very question. My Name is Bob, by Gregory T. Burns.
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, Danny. Someone was talking to my dad last night. Yeah. And asked him who would win if you ever got in a fight with your dad. Oh, what'd he say? Well, when he stopped laughing, he said that fighting your dad would be like fighting a big bowl of Jell-O. Oh, yeah? Well, I bet my dad could beat up your dad any day of the week. Oh, yeah? Well, my dad would put your dad in a headlock, grab one of his ears, and then pull his head off. Then we'd use your dad's head as a bowling ball. My dad's head couldn't be a bowling ball. Oh, it could too. We'd stick our fingers in his nose and roll it down the leg. Perfect strikes every time. Oh, yeah? Well, my dad would rip both your dad's arms, and we use them for baseball bats in Little League. Perfect home runs every time. Yeah? Well, my dad would rip both your dad's legs off, and then we'd use them for golf clubs at putt-putt. As big as your dad's feet are, we'd never miss the ball. We'd get a hole-in-one every time. Oh, yeah? Well, my dad would rip open your dad's stomach, and he'd pull out all of his intestines, and we'd use his intestines like rope to pull our boat down to the lake. Fun in the sun, buddy. Fun in the sun. Hey, look. There's your sister. Oh, where? Ha-ha, made you look. But I bet my sister could knock out your sister with just one whiff of her bad breath. Yeah? Well, I bet my sister could make your sister drop to the ground and roll around in pain for my sister just looking at your sister with my sister's ugly face.
Hey, that's funny. We both have ugly sisters.
Yeah, you're right. That is funny. But I bet my dog Trixie could beat up your dog Fido. That's stupid. No way a girl miniature poodle could beat up a boy bulldog.
Oh, yeah? Well, have you ever seen your bulldog get really, really mad?
Hey, that's not fair. You got a poodle.
Hey, what time is it?
Time for you to get a watch. Ha! It's 5:30. Why?
Uh-oh. I'm late for dinner. Mom said she'd ground me next time I was late. Is your family still coming over for barbecue tomorrow?
Yeah, Mom's making potato salad.
Okay, see you then.
Later, alligator.
welcome, Mr. Ogre, and thank you for interviewing with us today. I see here on your application that you've been unemployed now for several years. Is that true?
The stupid idiots never give me a chance. Oh, by the way, that for you.
You belched.
You know, your name, Mr. Belch.
My name is Mr. Welch.
Well, then your secretary needs to work on her diction.
Okay, well, let's get down to business, shall we? Why would you like to work at Institute of Financial Conglomerate Incorporated?
You pay, don't you?
Of course, all of our employees receive a salary.
Good enough for me. You want to arm wrestle me?
I'm sorry,
If I win, I get the job. How about it?
I'm afraid that's not how we do business around here.
Oh, hey, who's the hot babe?
That's my wife!
Is she home?
Yes, she's preparing for a dinner party.
Can I come over? I haven't been to a party in forever.
You know, I think it's just a little get-together for a few coworkers.
Oh, okay, now we're talking. Hire me right now, and I'll bring the bean dip. I would bring caviar, but seeing as how I've been unemployed for a few years, money's a little tight, you know.
Look, I appreciate the offer, and I wish you all the best in your search for unemployment. Unfortunately, I'm not sure you're qualified for a position with us at this time.
Oh, I get it. I'm not fancy enough to work here, is that it? I'm just a big slob who likes to eat bean dip.
No, it's not that. It's just I think it might be better if...
You know what? I'm coming to your party tonight. How you like them apples, huh? I'm gonna wait in the parking lot. When I see you get in your fancy car, I'm gonna follow you home.
Yes, I need security in my office immediately.
I'm gonna pedal my bike as fast as I can, and I'm gonna follow you home. You're gonna introduce me to your hot wife and all your fancy schmancy coworkers. They're gonna love me.
Yes, security!
And they're all gonna say, "Hey Chuck, where'd you get this bean dip? It's delicious." And I'm gonna say, "There's plenty more where that came from. Bean dip for everyone."
Yes, thank goodness you're here. Please escort this man out of the building.
Hey, no need to put your hands on me. I'll see you tonight. We're gonna have a great time. We can talk about 401ks, company picnics, and promotions, all the while enjoying some good old-fashioned bean dip.
Manly Man poem number 2. Another poem from my collection for manly men only.
I am a manly man, a neglected cactus, sitting in a terracotta pot on the back porch, waiting to be watered. She did it! She did it! I was a big barrel cactus calling out, "Will somebody water me?"
I am a manly man,
a neglected cactus. Brick, 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 brick.
Welcome to Cliché Junior High, Mr. Jones. I'm Principal Smith. Won't you take a seat?
Thank you. Got here as soon as I could. My wife left me a note telling me you'd called.
Well, I appreciate that. After all, I believe an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I appreciate you coming down here at the drop of a hat.
Of course. What seems to be the problem?
Well, it's your son, Jeffrey. Mr. Jones, I don't believe in being around the bush. Unlike most educators, I don't believe everything's hunky-dory or everything's coming up roses. Please, don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger. But if you look into the two-way mirror, you'll see that the picture's worth 1,000 words.
I just see my son, Jeffrey, sitting there eating a banana.
Really? Is that all you see? I'll put a cork in it, Mr. Jones, because I see an 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is his second banana. Mr. Jones, we at Cliché Junior High don't believe in taking things with a grain of salt, sweeping things under the rug, or taking the easy way out. We believe in nipping things in the bud, taking the bull by the horns, and laying all of our cards out on the table. We also don't let sleeping dogs lie. We're proficient at laying down the law, leaving no stone unturned, cracking the whip, and cutting to the chase. And I believe there's no time like the present.
Has Jeffrey been misbehaving in school?
Okay with the program, Mr. Jones. The handwriting is on the wall. Stop looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. Wake up and smell the coffee. I realize that beauty is an eye of the beholder, but that beauty is only skin deep. That love is blind. But look at your well for a moment. I'll call him your son. That's the face only a mother could love, Mr. Jones. There's more to this than meets the eye. Please, I beg you, look once more through that two-way mirror. Because what you see is what you get.
I still just see my son there.
And
some outdated furnishings.
Mr. Jones, there's an 800-pound gorilla in the room. You and your wife have enrolled as primate of a student here at Cliché Junior High. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, we're so proud that we chose Cliché Junior High. Jeffrey just loves it here. Did you know that he's made the honor roll twice?
That's not the point, Mr. Jones. Your son is a gorilla. Of course, all the other students think Jeffrey is the bee's knees, the best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear he's fitting in and making some friends.
Mr. Jones, I find this whole thing, the whole 9 yards, the whole king caboodle, hook, line, and sinker hard to swallow. Sure, there are those who could say, he's as cute as a button, and that's what's on the inside that counts. And yes, I know what people say. You can't judge a book by its cover, but I'm sorry. I'm at the end of my rope. I've had it up to here. Your son is an 800-pound gorilla. You get the big picture.
I'll be a monkey's uncle.
Wait a minute. I thought you were Jeffrey's father.
I am Jeffrey's father. My wife, Lulu, who worked for the circus, told me how one of the gorillas in the circus, a gorilla named Gigi, was gonna have a baby. The circus manager told Lulu that they were gonna have to give Gigi's baby to some zoo. Lulu would not hear of that, so we adopted Jeffrey. We've had him since the first day he was born. We don't treat Jeffrey special. We treat him like our son. I see what's going on here, finally. Prejudice! This is nothing but pure unadulterated prejudice. Just 100% human versus primate prejudice. Let's cut to the chase and put a stop to all this monkey business, shall we, Mr. Jones? We need to bite the bullet, jump in with both feet planted firmly on the ground. We need to keep our fingers crossed, our chin up, and our eyes wide open. I think it would greatly benefit all parties involved if you withdrew Jeffrey from Cliché Junior High. Principal Smith, with all due respect, I think we'll have to see you in court. I'm sorry to hear that, but I hope you understand my position on this matter. I'm afraid this won't be over till the fat lady sings. What's that singing I hear in the parking lot? That would be my wife, Lulu. I told her to meet me here as soon as she could. By the way, Lulu works as the fat lady in the circus. I'm so sorry. Oh, for goodness sake, don't be. I'm gonna go get my son Jeffrey now. I'm gonna take him to the car, but I'm gonna send my wife in here, Principal Smith.
It would be a pleasure to meet her. Would you like me to speak with her and explain the situation?
No, I'm just gonna tell her to sit on you for a while. It's gonna be very, very uncomfortable for you. Have a nice day. Manly Man poem number 3. The final poem from my collection for manly men only. I will be autographing copies in the lobby following this performance. I'm a manly man, a dying boxer, fighting, fighting. My gloves are torn, my boxing trunks too. She did it. She did it.
And she knows who she is.
That weekend he took her gambling in Vegas.
And that's what she did it.
A love bullet through my heart.
I am a manly man.
A dying boxer. Jab, 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 jab.
It's happy.
It's fun.
It's Happy Fun Ball.
Yes, it's Happy Fun Ball, the toy sensation that's sweeping the nation. Only $14.95 at your local stores.
Warning, pregnant women, the elderly, and children under 10 should avoid prolonged exposure to Happy Fun Ball.
Caution, Happy Fun Ball may suddenly accelerate to dangerous speeds. Happy Fun Ball contains a liquid core which, if exposed due to rupture, should not be touched, inhaled, or looked at.
Do not use Happy Fun Ball on concrete.
Discontinue use of Happy Fun Ball and see your doctor immediately if any of the following symptoms occur. Itchiness.
Nausea.
Dizziness.
Tingling in extremities.
Lost amounts of coordination.
Constipation.
Or temporary blindness. J.G. Wentworth.
ShamWow.
Snuggies.
What all these things have in common? They're all commercials you'll never forget.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You tell us.
So call now.
SNL commercial parodies edited by us. When you do only one thing, you do it better. That's why at First Midwestern Bank of Midwestern American Change, we only make change.
So, I needed to take the bus one day, but all I had was a $5 bill. So I stopped by First Midwestern Bank of Midwestern American Change, and they were able to give me 4 ones and 4 quarters. Wow.
We work with the customer to give them the change that he or she needs.
If you come to us with a $20 bill, we can give you 2 10s.
We can give you 4 5s. We can give you a 10 and 2 5s. At First Midwestern Bank of Midwestern American Change, we work to meet your needs.
You know what I love about tacos?
What's that?
Everything.
Can tacos get any more kick butt than this?
Oh, they're about to, all right. Here at Taco Town, we take a crunchy all-beef taco, smother in nacho cheese, lettuce, tomato, and a special southwestern sauce. Then we wrap it in a soft flour tortilla filled with a layer of refried beans in between.
Sweet.
Then we wrap that in a savory corn tortilla with a middle layer of Monterey Jack cheese.
Awesome.
And it gets even awesomer when we take a deep-fried gordita shell, smear on a little of our special guacamolito sauce, and wrap that around the outside.
This is getting pretty big.
But it gets even bigger because we bake it in a corn husk filled with pico de gallos and wrap that in authentic Parisian crepe filled with angry orange sauce and portobello mushroom.
Howdy, I'm Gunther from Gunther's Beef Palace, a place where you find your own cow and you cut your own steaks. You select your own cow from over 200 head of our premium southern moors. You rope it, you stun it, you charbel it. Only at Gunther's.
Have you been in an accident?
Have you witnessed an accident take place?
Have you suffered psychological damage from hearing someone describe an accident that he saw?
Hello, I'm Walton Green.
And I'm Anthony Fazio.
Here with another litigation myth.
Myth number 4. You cannot file a suit for an accident in which you were not involved.
False! Green and Fazio realize that when an accident occurs, it's not those involved who suffer. That's why for the past 35 years, we've been pioneers in a whole new area of accident litigation, including bystander trauma, phantom whiplash, and near collision stress disorder.
Why don't you come in for a free consultation and let us sue the living bats out of people so that you can have the money you didn't even know you were entitled to?
In a tough job market like this one, you need every advantage you can get.
That's why I enrolled at the University of Westfield, online.
I earned my degree sitting at home in my pajamas.
The University of Westfield Online gave me the skills I need to get the job I want. Skills like not mentioning in a job interview that I went to an internet college. The University of Westfield Online taught me that going to an internet college is not a thing that would make people want to hire me.
At the University of Westfield Online, you learn valuable techniques on how to respond when someone asks you where you went to school. Techniques like changing the subject, pretending your phone is vibrating and you need to take the call, mumbling, and faking a heart attack.
If Happy Fun Ball begins to smoke, seek shelter and cover your head.
When not used, Happy Fun Ball should be kept in a special working container and kept under refrigeration.
Failure to do so relieves the makers of Happy Fun Ball, Wacky Products Incorporated, and its parent company, Global Chemical United, of any and all liability. You cut your own steaks, we give you the saw. You cut your own sirloin tips, blades, and roast. You find it, you rope it, you stun it, and you cut it as big and as thick as you want it. Can we eat them now?
Sure, but not before we take the whole thing and wrap that in this Chicago-style deep dish meat lovers pizza.
Pizza? Now that's what I call a taco.
I stopped by First Midwestern Bank of Midwestern American Change to get change for a 50. I guess I was in kind of a hurry because I asked for a 20, a 10, and 2 5s. See, that only adds up to 40. Their computers picked up my mistake right away and gave me the correct change.
We have been in this business for a long time. With our experience, we're going to have ideas for change combinations that probably haven't even occurred to you. If you have a $50 bill, we can give you 50 ones. We can give you 49 ones and 10 dimes. We can give you 11 ones, 764 nickels, and 70 pennies. That's 80 pennies.
80 pennies. Myth number 22. In order to be successful, a lawsuit must have some merit and at least an inkling of truth. False!
Green and Fazio realized that some of the best lawsuits are nuisance suits. At Green and Fazio, we don't have to win your case to make you money. We can win by simply agreeing to drop the suit, accept a settlement, and leave the defendant in peace.
We accomplished this in the Green and Fazio way.
By annoying the defendant with harsh threats, cheap insults, prank calls, ding-dong ditches, and by making immature, obnoxious noises to intimidate the defendant. No one harasses defendants like Green and Fazio.
At the University of Westfield Online, they taught me a name of other colleges I could say I went to. Great believable names like Rutgers or UC Santa Cruz. They also taught me you could just say the name of a place like Michigan.
People will draw their own conclusions.
Just don't mention that you went to the University of Westfield online. Shh. Ingredients for Happy Fun Ball include a glowing substance that came presumably from outer space.
Come talk to us. We listen to you. At First Midwestern Bank of Midwestern American Change, we're not going to give you any change that you don't want. If you come into First Midwestern Bank of Midwestern American Change with a $100 bill, we're not going to give you 2,000 nickels.
Well, it's not a Taco Town taco until we roll it up in a blueberry pancake, dip in batter, and deep fried until it's golden brown. Then we serve it in all commemorative tote bag filled with spicy vegetarian chili. It's 15 great tastes all rolled into one.
Taco Town!
The new pizza crepe taco pancake chili bag. Only at Taco Town.
Taco Town! Gunther's Beef House, where you find it, you chase it down, you rope it, you stun it, you charbel it, you season it, you cook it, and you eat it. It's very easy. Our saws are light. Here's my old pal Goober to demonstrate. Just look at how he handles a saw. Isn't it simple, Goober? Yeah, it's pretty simple. See, if Goober can do it, then so can you.
Myth number 87. It takes a lot of money to file a lawsuit to scam rich people out of their money. Well, that one's true, but once you scam them, you'll have lots of money.
At Green and Fazio, you don't pay a cent unless you win the settlement. That's right, we don't see a dime unless you see a dime.
I'm afraid I have some bad news. The people suing you are represented by
Dun dun dun!
Green and Fazio. As your lawyer, I urge you to settle. I know these guys. Believe me, you don't want the headache.
Oh crap, those are those guys who make that annoying noise.
Green and Fazio, experts in nuisance suits since 1978.
Call 1-800-HARASS! That's 1-800-HARASSS. That's 1-800
Harass!
Da 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 da.
Everyone hates us but our clients.
And in just 4 months, when it's time to graduate, University of Westfield Online will email you a PDF of a diploma with an intentionally unreadable name of a school.
Does that say Yale?
It could.
So enroll today, and you could be saying,
Thanks, Cornell.
Thanks, Sarah Lawrence.
Thanks, University of
Thanks, University of Westfield Online.
Just don't tell anyone.
Happy Fun Ball has been shipped to our troops in Saudi Arabia and is currently being dropped by our warplanes in Afghanistan.
Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball!
And remember, Happy Fun Ball comes with a lifetime guarantee.
So call now!